Why should you join the Livingston County Republican Party?
Why, you ask?
Yeah, why?
Why join?
The Republican Party is the party of common sense.
Common sense.
Republicans support the Constitution.
Republicans protect your rights.
We fight to keep your children safe.
We fight to keep boys and men out of girls' and women's sports.
We fight to keep boys out of girls' restrooms.
We fight for you.
What does the Republican Party do?
We help Republican candidates get elected.
Why is it important to elect Republicans?
Why is that important?
Why?
Tell me, why is that important?
Livingston County is one of the safest counties in Michigan.
Livingston County has one of the lowest crime rates in the state of Michigan.
Livingston County has the lowest tax millage rate of all 83 counties.
Republicans work to balance the budget.
Republican legislators vote against raising your taxes.
Republican elected officials believe in transparency.
Republican clerks run elections with integrity.
Republican trustees protect your rights.
Republicans support our veterans.
Who can join?
If you are conservative, we want you in our party.
All conservatives are welcome at our table. Join our activities.
Join the fun.
Become a member.
Join us now.
Hi, I'm Deb Drick, chair of Livingston County Republican Party. Our conservative message has been very well received in Livingston County, and I'm so happy to share with you that people are stepping up right and left to help. The only thing's missing is you. Come join our mission. Come join our fun. Go to livingstonrepublicans.com and click join. You'll be glad you did.
Good evening and welcome to the October 28th version of The Right Side. I'm Deb Drick. I am the chair of Livingston County Republican Party, and tonight's special guest is Scott Greenlee. Scott is a political consultant, and in the midst of all this political stuff going on, I thought he would be a good person to find out kind of what's going on, what he does, and so, and I think I'd like to kind of just jump right into what specifically, please tell our viewers, what is a political consultant? What does that do?
Well, first of all, Madam Chair, thanks so much for having me on tonight and for doing this on a weekly basis. You really do a nice job of giving Republican candidates and Republican legislators, Republican office holders a platform to talk to the people. And I'm honored to join tonight as somebody who works behind the scene. But what you're doing is really making a difference, and all the work you do as county chair as well. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All Livingston does. I live right next door in Ingham, so I keep a good eye on you folks over here in Livingston, and always have. So a lot of people do ask me that. What is a political consultant? And really, it's something that is developed at the state representative, state senate, even county commission level over the last several years. Now, there have always been consultants who've worked on presidential campaigns, senatorial campaigns, and even to a degree, congressional campaigns that were hotly contested. But the whole consulting thing has gotten going as there become more and more ways to market these types of races. The races themselves turn into more of a business where there's a lot of money being contributed or invested by candidates. And really, it makes sense to have a professional or somebody who's experienced at the helm kind of directing those operations. So here in Michigan, we've got a lot of consultants. I have good things to say about most of them. I enjoy learning from them, picking up on best practices that they've done. Even when I'm in a race and one of the consultants is on the other side, we're doing a primary or something, I try and stay in touch and make sure that we're friendly, that we're respectful of candidates, that we're respectful of ideas, and that we're all learning together, because whoever wins those primaries or those convention races, we need to put out front together, very unified, so that we win races in November. That's really what it's all about, making sure that we get more seats in whatever body that we're working on, whether it's statewide elected officials, the House, the Senate, county commission levels, and down to your local municipal levels. A campaign consultant is really somebody who would be the CEO or the business manager of the operation. So they're not necessarily somebody who's the campaign manager, which would be more of a day-to-day type person. And I'll give you a real good example. a campaign strategist would probably take a look at a district and decide when it made sense to put yard signs up. Does it make sense to put them up now? No. Frankly, we're about to get a bunch of snow here in Michigan. They're going to get torn down. If people see a candidate's name now, the chances of them remembering it a year from now in November or 9 months from now in August is fairly slim. So it doesn't do a whole lot of good, and it would cause the campaign to have additional expense. So the campaign consultant would take a look at a long-term strategic decision like that as to when they go up. A campaign manager might be the person actually putting them up on those days and collecting the addresses. So that's just one example, one small example of the differences between somebody who's doing the general overall strategy of the campaign and then somebody who's actually carrying out the day-to-day work.
Okay. All right. And how long have you been doing this?
That's a great question. I'm not even sure myself. I got involved in politics really in high school when I was selected to play Ronald Reagan in the school mock election way back in 1984. You'll be glad to know I won. Reagan carried the day.
Good deal.
Went to East Kentwood High School over in the Grand Rapids area.
Yep.
But then when I went to college, I started the College Republican Club at Grand Rapids Junior College. I did about a year and a half of junior college. And, probably did better at the Republican Club than I did my grades at that point. But we started the club and we recruited a lot of students, and that got me an opportunity to start to work on local campaigns. I was John Engler's youth director in his first campaign in 1990, and I've been involved from there. Now, I wasn't always in a paid role. I've been a county party officer, a district officer, state vice chair, done all this stuff as a volunteer, but that also helped me learn about being a consultant. And during those times, I had a 10-year sales career with AT&T. I ran the muscular dystrophy fundraising telethon for West Michigan for a couple of years, all the time, again, doing this political work as a volunteer or on the side. I was the world president of the JCs in 2007. That's another organization I was very involved in. And when I came back in 2008, I found that there were a lot of people asking me to work on their campaigns and offering to hire me. And I kind of turned it into a business at that point. And I think at that time, it was more of just being a campaign manager and figuring out how many different races at a local and state rep and Senate level I could manage and run myself. So I was doing that over in the West Michigan area. When Rick Snyder ran for governor, I was his grassroots director. Also knew Bill Schuette for many, many years, and this is about the time in 2010 when both Snyder and Schuette were running statewide, so I was engaged in their campaigns, and from there kind of developed it into a general consulting firm where I've worked with a number of other people, helped get folks involved, and been blessed to have a lot of people giving me best practices, propping me up, giving me ideas that I could share with clients over the years. We've been more successful than not. Unfortunately, in this business, nobody has a perfect record. Sometimes I learn a whole lot more from the races that we're not successful in, and can take those lessons and move them forward and help other good conservatives and good Republicans get elected in the future. So that's kind of in a nutshell. I don't know how long to say I've been a general consultant, but it's been a long time, and it hasn't always been called a general consultant, but I've been doing the campaign work literally since 1988.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a good answer then. So can you give us some examples? Well, you sort of did there, but you have other examples of candidates you've worked with or for?
Sure. Yeah, I've been fortunate to work at the very entry levels of politics, which would be, your village councils and different races along those lines, where you have a very small number of constituents, and your marketing looks quite a bit different. There's no TV, there's no radio, there's no large signs. It's basically a door-to-door type effort, all the way up to running congressional races, taking lead roles in attorney general, governor races, working with the RNC on the victory operations. So I've had a breadth of experience there. Here in this area, in Livingston County, I was pleased to have the opportunity to work with Ann Bolin when she had her first race, and that turned out to be a race where she was uncontested in the primary, and it was a very Republican seat. But we still laid everything out as though she was going to have to run a tough race, and it was great to get to know her, and now to see her doing such great things in the House in the Approps area. And of course, I also have worked with Brian Ignatowski, who ran last time. And, you know, Brian was in an interesting situation. He had never run for public office. He was running against an incumbent. And his district has a good share of Livingston County here, but also some of Washtenaw County, which tends to be a little more Democratic, and then just a little sliver of Jackson County. So as a first-time candidate who didn't have a lot of support from around the state, he almost beat an incumbent Democrat. And Brian has re-racked and ready to run again, and I'm excited to see what next year will hold for him, because I think he has a great chance to win.
I do too. I think too, his first year, he kind of got in at the 11th, at the last minute. I know, I remember him telling me that, he was considering it, but he wanted to give people that have done it before an opportunity, but nobody else stepped up, and he did, and we were glad he did. But having that many months, I mean, he's, as he did, like he says, 8 months before the deadline as opposed to 8 minutes. So it'll be a good, he's got a good run at it this time, I think.
One good thing I'll say about Brian, and I'm sure he's watching somewhere out there in the podcast world, but so I won't make any fun of him, because he's probably going to keep me in check. but Brian is a worker. And anything in life, and I've done a lot of business, I've done a lot of work in nonprofit organizations, and I've done a lot of work in the political realm. Anywhere in life, I'll take somebody who's willing to put their head down, grind, work really hard.
Yep.
I find that makes up for, any type of other flaws that somebody might have, whether they're a candidate, whether they're a CEO, whether they're a nonprofit leader. So Brian is a guy who's going to work very, very hard on this race. And when elected, because I believe he'll work very, very hard for his constituents and do a fantastic job.
And I think that, that hard work, a campaign's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to weed out the weak and the lazy.
Yeah.
Because if you're not willing to put yourself out there and to do the work to win, if you're lazy there, you're going to be a lazy legislator. So all it is practice. All right, we got a couple comments here. First of all, we have Mark Ashley Price from Wayne County. I keep teasing him that he's exactly 50% of the Wayne County Republicans. Mark, were you at a Wayne County Republican event, I think last night, with Attorney General speaking? Just give me a thumbs up or down here. He says Scott is an amazing guy. He's got great experience. Terrific.
Too kind.
And then we got our commission chair here want to know what might be the 3 biggest weakness of alleged, you could tell he's an attorney. Only attorneys use that word, alleged independent Mike Duggan.
Well, Jay asks a great question there, and alleged is the right word, because for literally the last 30 years, Mike Duggan has endorsed every candidate for president, for U.S. Senate, for Congress, for governor. They've all been Democrats. You can't find a major Republican in history that this guy has ever endorsed.
Or a Republican policy or position. Nothing.
So he's a Democrat. I get it that he saw how the Democrats did in 2024 and immediately bolted from their party, even before November of 2024 was over. He took stock of that election. He did what a lot of politicians do. He put his finger up in the wind and said, it's blowing Republican.
That's what he did.
I don't think I can sell myself as a Republican. I don't think the Republicans embrace me. So the next best thing, I'm going to try and be an independent. What do I think the weaknesses are? First, he's obviously that type of politician. He's going to do wherever the wind's blowing. For him to run away from the party that he's been a part of, that he's donated to, that he's supported for decades, not for a year or two, but for decades, I think really tells a story. And for him to do it so quickly after his endorsed candidate, Kamala Harris, lost the presidential race, speaks volumes. He was on their policies. He was supporting their candidates and their tickets. All of a sudden, 2 weeks later, he becomes an independent. Come on, that doesn't check out.
I think what do they call it? It's not a rhino, a dino. What would this be? An INO? An INO?
Yeah, an INO. Yeah, independent in name only, because he's a Democrat.
That's right.
I think not being part of the party structure is a problem. I think he would have a better chance to win if he were running as a Democrat, which he is, because he would then have the Michigan Democratic Party, potentially, if he won the primary, behind him. And that provides things like what we're sitting in here, a party office that he could use. He doesn't have any of that stuff. Now, I know he has a lot of money. He's definitely a rich guy and has all these rich friends that are pumping money into his campaign. So maybe he'll be able to open independent offices around the state. But without that party structure, he doesn't have the email lists. He doesn't have the phone lists. He doesn't have the opportunity for offices. He doesn't have all these dinners like the Republicans and Democrats have dinners to speak at, to rally the troops. So I think that's a big weakness right there. I would say third of all, when you take a look at him, he is really not well known out of the Metro Detroit area. He's very well known in the Metro Detroit area. But when you get up north, when you get into the UP, when you get out to West Michigan, they not only don't necessarily know him or know what his policy or his track record have been, they might have heard of him, but they don't know him per se. But also, a lot of those outlying areas are not big fans of Detroit because for years the legislature has fed a lot of dollars into Detroit. And in Grand Rapids, I live in Lansing now, but I'm really a Grand Rapids guy. I've been in Grand Rapids most of my life. I know there's a lot of animosity that, wow, we're creating all these tax dollars, we're sending them all to Lansing. Do we get our fair share back? No, they all go to Detroit.
That's right.
So when people in Grand Rapids and West Michigan and up north take a look at the fact that the mayor of Detroit, the guy who takes all those dollars, now wants to do for Michigan what he's done for Detroit, I don't think that message is going to be well received. So.
Well, here's the other problem. Had he run a primary, it would have come down, his primary would have fought it out between him and Jocelyn.
Yep.
And one of them would have come forward.
Yep.
And my guess is it would have been him. And then it would have just been him and the Republican. Okay, then there's the battle. Now he's still going to run against Jocelyn, but also Republican. If those two split the Democrat support, boom, there goes our Republican. So, I don't know what he was thinking there, but
in 1992, we had the only other in my lifetime major independent statewide push that was well funded, that was well publicized, and that was Ross Perot when he ran for president as an independent.
Yes, I remember.
So you had George H.W. Bush running for re-election. You had Bill Clinton, the governor of Arkansas at the time, running on the Democrat ticket. And then you had H. Ross Perot running up the middle as an independent. Now, if you remember, he was very credible. He was very well spoken.
Yep.
He bought hour-long commercial segments on network TV to lay his plan out. He spent tons and tons and tons of money and really got his name out. And at the end of the day, in the state of Michigan, he only got 18%.
Well, and he split with the Republican, and that's how we got Clinton.
Correct.
But fortunately, the Republicans did not learn, or they learned from that. And Ralph Nader ran the next time around, and he split with the Democrats, and that's how we got George W. So, I mean, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that's a situation where Mike Duggan is our Ralph Nader.
Yeah.
Normally he is a very good campaigner. I mean, look what he did. Look how he won in the city. That was amazing.
Yeah, as a write-in.
As a write-in. And then they were so afraid of him. They found another Michael Duggan to run as a write-in.
I remember
so not
that.
only did you have to write in Michael Duggan, you had to write in Michael J or Michael P or whatever. So
talk about serious shenanigans on that one.
Still he won against council law. Anyway, so
he's by reputation, and I don't know him. I've met him, but I don't know him. By reputation, he's a smart guy. He's a shrewd guy.
Yep.
And he's a Democrat. And so he's going to try and run this independent lane and do a better job than Perot. And I think he probably will. I could see him getting in the low to mid 20s, but I think it's very difficult to draw any path to him getting above 32%. And that's going to lead to him not getting elected.
Yeah. I mean, if it comes down to Jocelyn and Duggan and whoever our guy is, I'm okay with that. That's fine. So, all right. Mark Ashley Price says, yes, he was there. And you know why I know you were there? Because I saw one of the attorney general candidates posted a picture, and I just happened to scroll through Facebook and saw it and went, wait a minute, I know that. I know that's Mark Ashley Price right there. I know who that is.
There you go.
I see his face smiling at me
How
every
you doing,
single
Mark?
Tuesday. So anyway, yes, and I agree. Republican candidates for attorney general are awesome. All right, and then we have Kelly here. Good evening, Scott. Or good evening, guy. Scott always has a wealth of knowledge. Yes, he does.
I'll real quick mention Kelly and a lot of people, Mike Sullivan, Blake Edmonds, Gus Portella, Abby Oliver, just a wealth of good people that over the years have made me look good by working with Greenway Consulting. And that's something that's really important for any consultant is to have a good team behind them, because no individual can do it all. And in this day and age, when you do all the things a consultant does, lay out the strategy, come up with the plan for media, prep the candidate on any type of debate situations or media, come up with the talking points, narrow the issues to what makes sense to those particular voters, on and on and on, it is impossible to be successful without folks like Kelly and like others working on the team.
I mean,
So
people get paid for doing that. Jay, are you
they
listening
do.
to that? Look, all you candidates, are you listening to that?
They do, yeah. So Kelly was great to work with, and thanks much, Kelly, for listening tonight.
Yeah. So okay. So let's talk about let's talk about the U.S. Senate race. Let's start
Okay.
there.
Sure.
What I mean, for the longest time, Mike was there, and they think Mike was, Trump was holding back because he didn't know if Heising was going to get in there. He didn't, there's some back and forth, and all of a sudden, boom, Heising is out. Mike's got a Trump endorsement, and lo and behold, some lady that I've never heard of out of nowhere comes out and says, I'm going to run against this guy who's got not only the Trump endorsement, but a 9-month head start on me. So talk about that.
Well, I think that this is Mike Rogers' race. I think Mike will be the nominee of the Republican Party, and he will run in the general. And I frankly think he's going to win. Mike came as close to winning that seat last time as anybody has since way back in the 1990s, when Spence Abraham won the seat and held it for one term, and then was beaten by Debbie Stabenow.
Yeah.
So Mike came within 20,000 votes of winning a U.S. Senate seat. That's amazing when you consider the millions of votes that were cast.
Well, and the other thing is that it's also amazing because Mike was absent, and you don't go away for that long and come back and have be able to just pick up. There's a whole new generation of voters that now don't know you.
Yeah.
And then, you got other people that you have to reacquaint yourself with. And so he did well considering those hurdles. I think they were huge hurdles.
He was a well-known, powerful member of Congress for years representing this area. And then obviously he stepped out of Congress as a committee chair, former committee chair at that time, and went about his private life.
Yep.
And a lot of people had always encouraged him to get back into politics. He jumped in, ran a great race last time, came up just short. And I think all that name ID and all that introduction to the people who didn't know him before will benefit him this time.
Yes, I agree.
Also, let's talk about the Democrat side of things. I mean, with all due respect to Alyssa Slotkin, she is a pretty good campaigner.
Yep.
I saw that firsthand as she was my member of Congress for a period of time, and then she ran for the Senate. So when I take a look at the field of Democratic senatorial candidates in Michigan right now, I don't think any of them are stronger than Slotkin. I really don't.
No, I don't think so either.
And so I think when Mike has the experience of just having run, has a lot of fresh name ID and introductions to people around the state, and he's going to face what will, in my opinion, be an inferior opponent to the one he faced last time, and he only needs to make up about 20,000 votes. I think it's real fair to guess that Michigan may flip the Senate seat and really fortify and strengthen our hold in the U.S. Senate, which is so important, obviously.
Right. No, I agree. And so you got, what's the woman's name? I don't even know. Isn't that terrible? What's that woman's name? It just challenged them. She has 3 names.
Oh, Geraldine. Genevieve. Sorry. Genevieve Peter Scott.
That's it. Yes. And so what do you know about her?
So I do know her. I know that she's jumped in the race and she's going to work aggressively hard. She is from the east side of the state, I believe Oakland County, although maybe Macomb County, but I think Oakland County. She's been around politics for a while. She's not completely new to the game, but she's going to have a real problem or a real challenge building up her name ID around the state, which is difficult in a state as large as Michigan is. Obviously, a lot of the grassroots folks are already behind Mike Rogers because he was running essentially without opposition for quite a while. And then there's the Donald Trump factor. I mean, Trump is very committed to Rogers. We saw that in the last time that Rogers ran in 2024. And he re-upped pretty quickly once Heising and some others announced that they weren't going to seek the seat, that they thought it made sense for Rogers to run again. So she's got real headwinds against her with Rogers' name ID, his experience, and of course the president's support.
So anybody else going to jump in, or any rumors out there? Any thoughts?
I haven't heard any rumors on the Senate side. There are rumors that people are going to get into other races still, but on the Senate side, I think it's pretty closed off, and I think
Okay.
that'll be the matchup.
Okay, so having that little tease dropped on top of us,
Yes.
let's expand on that a bit. Who do you think is going to drop in where?
Well, let's talk about the governor's race.
Okay.
So we've got 7 candidates currently running as Republicans, to my knowledge, unless I missed anybody.
Yeah, I've got 7
for governor of the state of Michigan. And I think that there are 2 categories of them, with all due respect to all 7, because
Sure.
anybody can win.
I get it.
I think that there are 4 who have been campaigning and raised significant amount of money and been out there for several months, if not a year or so, and that's our former Attorney General Mike Cox, Congressman John James, the former Speaker of the House Tom Leonard, and the Senate leader in the Michigan Senate currently, Eric Nesbitt. And those folks have all been out. They've all been working hard. They've all been raising money. The finance reports just recently came out, recently as in yesterday. And we've taken a look that in this last quarter, they've all raised about the same amount of money. Nobody had a huge advantage over the last 3 months in terms of fundraising that I noted. Some have some outside money. Some are investing in their own campaign because they have the personal wealth and ability to do that. But those 4 are kind of the front runners right now. And then you've got 3 others that are either just getting in the race or have been in the race and have not caught on a lot of traction in terms of the fundraising arena, or obviously the grassroots support arena. But there are at least 2 other people out there that have been rumored to be getting in, and they've been rumored to be getting in for literally months now. And both those individuals are well known to Republican activists and definitely have financial resources to get into a race like this a little later. And before I mention their names, let me explain something about how the finances work. You know, in the state of Michigan, you could be the best candidate for governor we've literally ever had, or the best candidate for U.S. Senate that we've literally ever had in the history of our state going back to 1837. If you would sit down in front and be interviewed by people, they could walk out of that room unanimously and say, wow, this person is the best qualified person ever to run for Senate. And as I tell these candidates, that's great. If I can't buy TV in Marquette, they're not going to know who you are.
That's right.
If I can't put you on TV in the very expensive media market of Metro Detroit for 2 to 3 weeks, they're not going to know who you are. So the fundraising is important because TV isn't cheap. Digital ads aren't cheap. Mailings statewide are not cheap. Running a good absentee ballot follow-up program is not cheap.
People don't understand how valuable that is.
No, which is why I am always fundraising, and I'm always encouraging people, hey, if you can give $5, give $5 to a candidate, it matters. If you can give $5,000 and that is a legal, within the legal limit of whatever race the person's running, give the $5,000. Invest in good government. It's really, really important, and donate as much and as often as you can. It's really important. But saying that, if you have personal resources that you are willing to invest because you want to, you believe in good government, you think you should put your own money in addition to raising money, you have that ability, you can get in the race a little later. Now, Mike Cox made a little bit of a splash, a little bit of news yesterday when the finance reports came out, as he's put a couple $1 million in his campaign. So he is readying the marketing machine to kick in, and we don't know when that's going to happen. But he's getting ready by investing in his own campaign. Rick Snyder, you remember in 2010, definitely invested heavily in his own campaign because he wasn't known and he needed to get that name ID. He needed to make people aware of him.
Nerd was
One tough nerd.
Genius.
Yeah.
Absolutely genius.
And
Super Bowl, wasn't it?
It was a Super Bowl.
That was
ad.
one expensive kickoff, but
yeah.
it did the trick.
It did the trick, yeah. Now would be a good time to point out as the first member state committee to endorse him. But
all right,
anyway,
okay.
we'll move on there.
Okay.
But so these
Rick
other
Snyder
two people
was a great governor. I mean, I didn't agree with every single move. I would have liked to have seen him take some other paths on a couple things, but overall, his work on the budget, his work on righting a sinking ship was, he took a state that was, and the way he used to put it, it was at the top of every bad list and the bottom of every good list, and he flipped it to
He did.
where we were supposed to be. We were at the top of the good stuff for once.
He left millions and millions of dollars
Sure
in the
did.
rainy day fund.
Sure
What
did.
happened to that? Oh yeah, something named Whitmer.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the governors
Right,
now. So we have these 4 that are running, and then we have 3 others that are running, and then there's 2 that are out there that again they could get in a little later.
I wrote my thoughts. Go ahead.
If they wanted,
Okay.
right? So one is Perry Johnson.
Oh,
Perry
okay.
had looked at running for governor in 2022
Yeah.
and did not make the ballot. He also ran for president in 2024, got some political experience traveling around the country, meeting people, jumped out of that, supported President Trump. He is somebody that a lot of people are curious if he's going to get in. He would have a lot of support, and he has the resources to invest into his campaign to get known and to make a splash literally whatever day he chose to get in. So that rumor's out there. There's also Kevin Reinke, who's very similar.
He was one of the 2 I guessed here.
Yeah. He is in a very similar pot where he's been very successful in business. He ran for governor in 2022, stayed in the race, wound up finishing second. People forget that he got over 20% of the vote statewide in the Republican primary. So if he gets in, he would definitely be able to start with a base of people that have voted for him before, that know who he is, and therefore would be a formidable candidate. So I'm really curious to see how this field develops as we get through the holidays and we enter early next year. The petition collecting phase is something that's really difficult, really important. You've got to have those 15,000 signatures. They got to be done right. And then you want to have double that if possible, or close to double that, because so often there are errors and they get challenged and they can get thrown out. So I think, the governor's race, you could see somebody get in as late as January, maybe February, probably not, but January for sure.
Yeah.
And they could still qualify for the ballot, and they could still be a candidate. So I have not endorsed, and I'm not working with anybody in the governor's race currently. I'm taking it all in and just kind of curious to see where it goes. So those are 2 people that might get in.
Kevin Reinke made a big statement back August 23rd or 26th or something. There was supposed to be some big announcement, and then August 23rd, 26th came and went, and nothing. I had, when I saw that there was going to be an announcement, I texted him and said, all right after the 26th, I want you on the podcast. And he wrote back, absolutely, had a blast last time. Haven't heard from him since. So I don't know what happened. I got to just, afterwards I said, okay, what happened? And silence. So I don't know if he's rethinking or something else had to get taken care of first. I don't know, but.
Well, I think either one of those guys would be a very interesting addition to the race. Certainly, if both get in, it'd be interesting. And here's the other thing: a lot of people think that, and rightly so, John James is currently a front runner because he's got very high name ID, and he does have some large dollars in an outside super PAC. But here's what I'll tell you:
you got
with
the Mike
4
Duggan
people
effect.
running, and the other 3, that are in the race, Ralph Rebrand, Carla Wagner, and Anthony Hudson. Yeah, so those 3. So you have those 7. Let's say 2 of those 3 make it, and let's say the lead 4 candidates make it. That's 6 people running. If you have 1 or 2 additional add in, successful business people, you're getting to a point where 20 or 25% could win the Republican primary. And in that situation, it's anybody's game. I don't care who the front runner is. Any one of those people could find their way to 20 or 25%. In fact, Kevin Reinke already has done that. He's demonstrated that ability. So I think that this would be a very interesting thing to watch. And whoever comes out of that battle is going to be really battle tested and really ready to take on not just whoever wins the Democratic primary, but Mike Duggan in this general election next year.
Yeah, it's going to be certainly a year that's going to be different. All right, so Mark, once again, Scott is a wealth of political knowledge and is a titan in Michigan politics. Agreed.
Oh, a titan.
Titan. Well, they're worse words.
I'll take it. I've been called worse.
Okay, Madam Chair, you make me feel special and honored. Well, you are special and honored, Mark. You're our special guest here every week. Then we have Mark again. I'm in agreement with you, Madam Chair, about former Governor Snyder. He is the favorite governor. Yes, he's mine too. He did a great job, and and he does it from a quiet perspective, which, and the other, what I really liked about working, I was in the Senate during his first term. I was there before his term, and went there, was in the House after his term. And one thing I really appreciated about him, never, ever did he speak negatively. I mean, he never ever, he always talked about the positive side of everything, and he never ever like downed anybody, even the other side, which was great. I really like that about him.
Really focused
Wealth of knowledge
forward,
from Scott. Great guest. Interested to know what his take on the importance of down ballot races. Good question,
so
Jeffrey Michael.
Yeah, that's real important, and let's jump into that. So once you get past these statewide races at the top of the ticket of the governor, and obviously the U.S. Senate candidate that we're going to have this year, we've got Congress in there, and that varies, depending on what part of the state you live in. But something that affects all of Michigan is the State House and the State Senate. Currently, the State House, we have a situation where we've got a 4-vote advantage for the Republican Party. And Speaker Matt Hall has done just a really excellent job, both from a policy standpoint and from a campaign political standpoint, making sure that the Republicans are ready to defend that majority and add to it. So I know that they're in a situation where they've got resources to back up their incumbents who are doing a nice job, who are going to run again, who aren't term limited. They've taken a look at a number of the open seats and where people are term limited and done a good job of recruiting candidates. They don't really show any favoritism in those primaries. HRCC keeps their hands off of that. But they definitely provide training seminars and things that all the candidates can participate in, so they're well qualified and well prepared when they win their primary and move on. And those who aren't successful have a better understanding of the process and may look to run again. That's where somebody like, we talked about him earlier, Brian Ignatowski, can really benefit from having run before, from being involved with HRCC and all the things that will make it available to all of the candidates this time, and hit the ground running in August, so that he has a great chance to win and pick up another seat or another 2 seats. We've had as many as 67, 68 seats that I remember since I've been involved. It'd be nice to get that number north of at least 60 in the next cycle. So that's what I'm hoping for. It's currently, I believe we're at 57, 58. And, we pick a couple more up, we'll be north of 60, and we'll have a good working majority in the State House. Now, the State Senate's another story. The Democrats have the lead there, and they've got a narrow lead, but they've got a lead. And in the Senate, remember, it's important to have a majority. A split situation in the House, 55-55, which had occurred back about 20 years ago. We had a power sharing agreement for one term. Paul Hilligans was the Republican leader at that time, the joint speaker, if you will. And I don't remember the Democrat who was partnered with him, but it was a 55-55 split. I mean, that would have been 20 years ago, I'm thinking. I'd have to look it up.
05? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe even a little before that.
Okay.
But there's a joint session. So when that happens in the House, they have to work it out that way. In the Senate, that's where the governor's race again becomes very, very important, because if there's a split situation in the Senate, the lieutenant governor casts the deciding vote, just as the vice president would on a federal level.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Republicans not only want to get back to even, they want to make sure they're one up, so that we have an opportunity to elect a Senate majority leader and carry forward a conservative, solid Republican agenda in the Michigan Senate, as we did for so many years. We had the Senate for years and years and years, even when we lost the House and the governor and so many other things in the Granholm years. I'm thinking in particular when we came out of that 2006 situation, we were fortunate that we were able to hold the Senate. We lost the House, then we lost the House again in 2008, and it got even worse, and we got down to in the high 30s in terms of numbers of Republican House of Representatives. But we had the Senate. We had Mike Bishop as the Senate Majority Leader, and he formed that wall. And as bad as Michigan was during, especially Granholm's second term, with the huge majority she had in the House, I can't imagine what it would have been like if she also had
Oh,
the
my
Senate
God.
to run
I
the
know.
full liberal agenda.
Actually, those were the years I started. in the
Oh wow,
Senate.
wow!
Yeah,
You were brave. Thank God, good people like
that's right.
you were working.
I cut my teeth during
Yeah.
those times. So
Well, and we've had the Senate until 2022. So
Yes.
so we had the Senate through all these years, and then somehow we lost it in 2022. I'm certainly not here to throw any stones, but
Prop 3 and bad
know,
redistricting all at the same time.
yeah, that and some campaign things.
Yep,
It was just
yep,
it just
yep.
wasn't held well.
Yep,
So
it wasn't.
we got to get the Senate back, and those are really where the real down ballot stuff starts. We've got to make sure we retain and expand our majority in the House, and then we've got to go over to the Senate side, and we've got to gain that majority back so that when we elect a Republican governor, whichever one of those people it is, they've got a working legislature and they can get that Republican agenda through, the thing that the people want, the thing
Right.
that the people in Michigan demonstrated they wanted in 2024 by voting for Donald Trump, and the thing that they will demonstrate they want again because Trump's policies are working here
are
in
they?
Michigan, and voters are taking notice of that. And while liberals, and the people who are the hardcore never Trumpers are just screaming that, oh, this is the worst case scenario, this is awful, the sky is falling. The average voter, the independent voter, and of course the Republican voter take a look and go, you know what? Sky hasn't exactly fell.
The sky is sunny and bright and
Talk
with a rainbow.
about this stuff. Yeah, we're a safer community.
Yep.
The economy is turning around. I filled up gas today for under $2.80 a gallon. Things are going pretty darn well, and he's just getting started. So
Yep.
as that continues, I think voters in Michigan will reinforce in 2026. They'll give us a governor that's a Republican. They'll give us a U.S. senator that's a Republican for the first time in a long time in Mike Rogers. And then we've got to expand that majority in the House, and we've got to get the majority back in the Senate.
And we'll put some common sense back in, and
Yeah.
it's just this craziness. They start undoing some of this stupidity that's been the crazy laws. I'll tell you, I will be. I mean, if we get rid of boys out of girls' bathroom, if we get rid of boys out of girls' sports, and we get rid of the awful, awful, awful law that gives Lansing the power to overrule the locals as it pertains to solar and wind, I'll be
Right.
happy girl. Right there. If we do
right.
nothing else, I mean, there's lots of other stuff I'd like to see go away, but being able to, especially here, we see it all. That we're seeing it everywhere. Our poor towns, our poor little townships are trying to fight these big solar farms coming in, and I have nothing against solar farms. If a community wants them and they all agree on them, by all means, go do
Yep.
it. That's just fine with me if that's what your community wants. I dislike Lansing forcing it on a community that's like, no, we don't want this. So
Now, Madam Chair, if I can jump in,
Go right ahead.
we talked about governor and Senate. We talked about the down ballot stuff because of Jeffrey's question with regard to, look at Kelly Powell. Is
I
Kelly
know,
Powell
boy,
so
I'll tell you
smart?
what,
So-
little softball there for you.
She's right there with what I
Yep.
wanted to lead to.
Right.
With Jeffrey bringing up the down ballot stuff, we talked about the House and Senate, but there's something in the middle there, and that's Congress. And especially here in Michigan, it's so important because we have, again, a very split state. Some of those Metro Detroit seats and certainly the Grand Rapids seat are seats that we're having trouble competing in. And then there are other seats like the UP seat with Congressman Bergman, Lisa McLean's seat out in Macomb and up into the Thumb, where the Democrats will have a very tough time ever
Sure.
competing in because of the makeup of the voters. Here, though, right here where you and I sit,
Oh yes.
is arguably the most important congressional seat out of all 435 in the entire
Oh, they're
country.
saying that at Chairman Runstead at a county chair meeting told us that he was told in a state chair meeting that the number one race in the country is
Yeah.
Tom Barrett's.
And that's true.
Yes.
And you and I both know
They're
Tom
coming
well.
after him. Yes.
Yep. Tom is a fantastic member of Congress. I met Tom
He's
when
adored
he was in.
here.
Oh yeah. I met Tom when he was in the State House. I immediately had tremendous respect for him, his military service, the job he did representing his voters. He then ran a very tough state Senate race, and everybody came after him, and he was successful. He obviously ran for Congress against Alyssa Slotkin, who was an incumbent at the time, very difficult to unseat an incumbent, but we gave it our all, came up just a hair short, and then immediately when she was going to jump to Senate, Tom raised his hand again and said, "Yeah, I'm gonna jump in." And he had done so well before; he'd come so close. Similar to the Mike Rogers story, I think we'll be able to tell in a year or so.
Right.
That he threw his hat back in the ring and he won. And look at the job he's doing. The votes he's taking, the businesses he's watching after, the job he did just on international relations, getting that family from mid-Michigan safely back
fantastic.
home. You know, the hours this guy puts in. He is a tremendous member of Congress. But yet, the Democrats, federally, here in Michigan, they're going to scream that, you know, well, he supports the big, beautiful bill, and gee, he supports that we ought to follow the laws with regard to immigration. Like, what a terrible idea to follow these laws that actually were signed into effect by President Clinton, a Democrat, as I remember back in the 90s. And they're going to really attack him and make him out to be the worst human being ever. So we're going to have to really double down our efforts and do our job to help Congressman Barrett retain that seat. And literally, the way I look at the map federally, and I've been down to Washington, D.C. recently, I've had meetings at the White House, I've had meetings at, you know, the National Republican Congressional Committee, that seat could literally determine the entire majority of the United States Congress. So it is critical that we stand up and do a good job. Not just because of that overriding picture, but because Tom deserves it. The work that he does, the effort he makes in our community, Tom really deserves it. I don't care if it was a seat that was a 70-80% Republican seat and it was quote unquote safe. Tom would deserve a strong effort from everybody who lives in his district and everybody who can possibly hear us on the airwaves tonight. So I encourage everybody to get behind Tom Barrett. Take a look at those other congressional seats around the state. You know, certainly there's a opportunity with the right candidate in West Michigan in the 3rd. There's an opportunity up in the 8th district where, again, I think we need the right candidate. Those are close seats that are held by Democrats currently. And then make sure you re-elect and support the members of Congress who are in seats that are considered quote unquote safe seats, because you never know. And it's also very helpful to support them with all the work that they're doing and all the help that they give other candidates. I mean, let's face it, during the last campaign, just things that I saw personally and door days and events I was at, you had Congressman Bergman, you had Congressman Wahlberg, and you had Congresswoman McClain, all in mid-Michigan, working hard for Tom Barrett. So support those people within their district and give them the opportunity then to be team players and do everything that they can to retain Tom and help other targeted seats around the country.
We have to work together for Tom, because, you know, they're going to be throwing in stupid money from out of state to beat him. So anyway, so we're all behind him. We've got his back here.
He's the best.
Come next year, we're opening up our office here to him. Anything he wants. I've talked to his campaign people. I know they're getting an office, I think, in Howell, which is okay. Having one down here, he's welcome to use ours as well. And we'll host anything we want for him here, and you know, help him arrange knockers, or we'll have his signs and campaign lit here, and we'll, you know, do what we can for him. So any meet and greets or what have you. So we really appreciate Congressman Barrett, and we've got his back as far as, you know, getting him elected here. So though.
Love it.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, anything else? Let's see. Talk about, how about now you're involved in the Secretary of State race. So we're going to taboo that one. I'm sorry. But
that's only fair.
Yeah. But we do have, you got some interesting Secretary of State race, or no, I'm sorry, AG race. First of all, you hear anything more about anybody else jumping into the Secretary of State race?
You know, there are a couple rumors out there, and where I mentioned the gubernatorial names because they are pretty well out in the mainstream media and in conservative circles that they're considering. I am aware of a couple people, actually two, one from one side of the state, one from the other side of the state, that are still debating the Attorney General race. So
I had heard Ryan Kelly is thinking, is that one of them?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I don't think Ryan's an attorney.
No, we're talking about Secretary of State, goof. I said anybody else jumping into Secretary of State.
Oh, sorry. Okay,
do try to keep up.
I'm focused on the Attorney General because
I wanted tabooed you from Secretary of State, so you got shields on.
Yeah, you tabooed me. See, I follow directions. I'm trainable.
All right.
No, I have not heard anybody else really getting into the Secretary of State race. I've not heard that Ryan's, looking at that.
I heard Ryan Ryan actually said he was thinking about it. Yeah. So actually, I think somebody sent him SOS Kelly or something license plate, just like hint, doink, doink,
He's
But
a great guy.
Yeah, he is, and for me, I think if he was going to get into it over the summer, I think everybody else would have gone home. But
Yeah.
I don't. I think the longer he waits, the harder he's going to have because everybody else is going to have inroads. I was looking at the money. They did some okay money raising over these candidates. They surprised me a little bit how much they raised. So
Yeah.
That's good news. All right, so let's now go ahead and talk about
now we'll talk about the Attorney General.
Tell me
so
who's thinking about
there's
it.
3 candidates that have a committee put together. There's obviously Kevin, there's Doug Lloyd, who's the prosecutor in Eaton, and there's Matt DePerno. So they have committees that are up and operational. But we'll talk about the 3 of them and the dynamics here in a minute. But I have heard there are 2 other people in this state that are both looking at Attorney General. One is from the east side of the state and one is from the west side of the state. Maybe more to come on that, maybe not. I've talked to one of them in particular and said, time's a wasting. It's not a race where you're running to the public in August where you have an opportunity to maybe purchase some name ID and get your plan out there. You've got to talk to these delegates, and they're going to make a decision in March, March 28th, an endorsement convention. And that's where the die is going to be cast. You're going to have to win them over. So you've got, essentially 5 months or a little less starting right now, or 5 months from today, since today is
That's
the 28th.
not much. That's not much time.
It isn't. So I would expect if anybody else is going to get into the AG race, or frankly the SOS race, they'd do so before the holidays, and we'd have a pretty well set field come January 1.
Okay.
So I worked with, as mentioned, Attorney General Schuette. I did a lot of his campaign work in the AG race, and in sizing these folks up, it's interesting. Matt DePerno has been through conventions. He's won conventions. He's done a nice job with the delegates. He obviously is somebody who's historically close to President Trump and President Trump's team. And I've not seen a lot of activity out of his campaign yet. I think he's got some other things that he's focused on, but I think Matt, if he chose to get on the road and really run aggressively in this race, he's somebody who will always have a following at the convention, and you can guarantee that he'll have some votes and he'll be a player in how this thing will settle. Kevin is relatively new to all this, and he is a private practice attorney, to my knowledge. Like Matt DePerno, so he doesn't have any prosecutorial experience, which isn't a requirement, but it's something that people always talk about because the AG is the lead prosecutor for the state of Michigan, and they've got to manage that huge office of assistant attorney generals and all the departments and what have you. He's been in the race, I think, the longest. He's working hard. He's traveling the state. He got a little bit of notoriety by representing one of those who was charged as
J6 people.
One of the electors, actually.
Right. Yeah. Sorry.
So he, he got a little bit of notoriety in conservative circles there, and parlayed that into a candidacy, and is working hard. And as he mentioned, fundraising was out yesterday, and he did a pretty good job with fundraising. Doing about an equal job with fundraising is the prosecutor from Eaton County, Doug Lloyd. Doug is somebody who's been a prosecutor a long time. He initially was in Las Vegas years and years ago, and moved to Eaton County, and has been in the prosecutor's office there certainly north of 20 years. He's well known by his fellow prosecutors. He's been active in the Prosecutors Association, which garnered a lot of support from that community for him. And, they're both working hard. I see them both out at dinners every night. If I'm not there and seeing them in person, I see online their social media, their Facebook posts. So I think that either one is capable. I'm not working with either one right now. I don't have a favorite between the two. I'm not actively engaged in that race. But I do know that's a tough thing to get into, having worked on attorney general races historically. And again, that's something that this state is going to have to really get behind, whoever wins that endorsement convention on March 28th, whether it's one of the three candidates I currently talked about or one of the other two who may or may not get in. That's just going to be real important, because we've seen what Dana Nessel will do in that office. We've seen a very political, very lawfare charged attorney general, as I see it, in my opinion. And it would be nice to have somebody in there again who just focused on the rule of law as it was written. You know, one of the great things I can say about Bill Schuette, knowing him well, having worked with him for literally decades, you know, as a volunteer, as a campaign staff person, and then in the executive office of the Michigan Attorney General, Bill would look at a decision or a law or a situation, and he'd shake his head and he'd think, boy, I don't like this. This is against what my gut is telling me. And he'd look at attorneys in the room and say, you know, do we have rulings? Do we have opinions that we can rely on to do something different in this situation? And behind closed doors, those types of conversations happen all the time. And I sat in those meetings, and I can tell you that when they looked back and said, you know, Mr. Attorney General, I'm sorry, but there's a U.S. Supreme Court opinion that says exactly what you don't want to hear, or there's this precedent, or there's this law that has to be considered in this situation, he would shake his head and say, well, you know what, my opinion doesn't matter then. We're going to go with the law. We're going to enforce it as it's written. He'd always in his speeches talk about the law is not a buffet. You can't just pick and choose. You got to pick everything. Right. And that's how a civil society works. And I think, you know, any of the candidates I mentioned or the two others that get in will do a much more admirable job of that than what we've seen in recent years.
Okay, good. Let's see. Do I have anything else here? I think we covered all my questions as far as all the races and things.
Awesome.
We have Mark has a question about school. Do you have advice for school board candidates?
Well, yeah, you know, school boards got a lot more notoriety right after COVID because parents were seeing what was going on in the classroom, you know, because of the Zoom classes and what have you. So I think that school board races are typically nonpartisan in the state of Michigan.
I'd love to see that change.
You know, I think there may be. You know, and I need to think about, am I right on that? Are they nonpartisan?
Oh, yeah, school board and like cities and villages.
Yeah,
they're nonpartisan. I hate
your
it.
State Board of Ed is partisan. There's Republicans and Democrats, you know, as well as the trustees, regents, and governors of Michigan State, Michigan, and Wayne State. But at the local level, they're in a situation where they are nonpartisan. What I always tell people to do in a nonpartisan race is make it partisan if it matters. I mean, if you're in a good Republican community and you can talk about those Republican values, even without putting the word Republican on your brochures or your marketing material, do it. That would be one source of advice. Work with your local Republican Party. I know it's mainly Republicans listening to this show, so get on the right side of that school board issues and partner with your local Republicans, your local elected Republicans, your precinct delegates, and really run those campaigns like it's a state rep race and get out there and knock doors and get the material out, talk to the parents who can be passionate about the fact that their sons or daughters may not be getting input, direction, oversight from the school that you would want, because really it needs to be a parent's choice. The parents need to be involved. And I would really push the parental involvement, and I'd push partnering in partisan situations where it makes sense.
Yes. You know, and the other thing is, I know I had somebody reached out to me from a local city council race, and his statement to me was, well, I'm nonpartisan, so I don't get involved in the partisan issues. And I said, there is no nonpartisan.
Right.
You are either Republican or you either lean right or you lean left. One or the other. You don't balance on a little tip that, you know, the needle doesn't point straight north. It's either left or it's right. That's just how it works. And the only thing a nonpartisan race means is that you cannot list it. There's no listing of a party on the ballot. But you can claim I'm a Republican running for school board, or I'm a Republican running for city council. And it just tells people what you are. It doesn't mean you don't have a party or you don't have a position. It just means it's not going to be listed on the ballot.
If anybody has Mike Duggan's email address or cell phone, if they could clip that last little thing and send to him, I think that'd help us a lot. There is no independent Mike, as much as you want it to be.
You can't sit on that. It's. You know, an independent is different. Independent means one time here, one time there, which means I make my mind up on the issue, not necessarily on the person, right? They might like this, they might like that. So, but he is not. I mean, nonpartisan is different than independent.
For sure.
It is. And so, yeah, but you're right.
He's not nonpartisan.
No,
and
he's
not
neither.
independent.
He's neither. He's definitely partisan, and he's definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely not nonpartisan. So it is. It's just a farce to see these nonpartisans where they say, no, I'm not. I'm not going to go to that. I'm not going to go to that event because I'm nonpartisan. No, you're not.
Yeah.
You have a nonpartisan office, which means that R or D will not go on. But I know I told one nonpartisan candidate, a different one that reached out to me, and I said, for me, I would rather if you lean toward the left, then go over and get involved in what they're doing. If you lean toward us, come and get involved with us.
Right.
But just to say I'm staying away from everything, that's being disingenuous, and you're not telling anybody what you stand for. So don't tell me that you stand for strong community and, good for business and everything else, because everybody says that. How do you mean strong community? Do you mean lots of government taking care of people, or do you mean lots of programs to enable businesses so people can take care of themselves? It's a big difference to say that. So anyway, you got the canned responses.
I know we're almost out of time, but on the school board thing too, in addition to working with your local parties, work with these Republican clubs that are around. A lot of the county are now having clubs, Oakland, Wayne, in West Michigan, there's some. Work with those clubs and get those involved as well, because they're almost more local than an entire county, especially when you're looking at a county like Wayne County. It's such a slog to get through that many people. But if you work with the Plymouth Club or the Northville Club or one of these different clubs, you're gonna really keep your school board race local and probably get the type of support you're looking for.
Now, Mark, I have to tell you though, in this area, I would want Republicans to say they're Republicans, because then I would know who they were, right? In your area, you don't in Wayne County, you do not stand up and wave a MAGA flag. That's it. You're going to get 2 votes. It's going to be you and the other guy in the party.
Right.
That's it. So you just go back. You stick to the good for kids, make sense, common sense, make sure, the lights are on and kids don't get guns in the class, and you'll be good. But yeah, so, in areas that are very partisan, your politics don't work in Wayne County. So you just have to stick to the, you're one of the people that needs to make the nonpartisan stuff work for you. So anyway, so just don't put an R next to your name there anywhere, and you should do all right. You care about the kids. All right. So thanks, Scott, for making the trip here from Lansing. I appreciate you taking the time to educate us. I think a lot of people are unsure of what a political consultant does, and your clients are lucky to have you. And they're hearing me out there somewhere, I can tell. So anyway, we're going to take a commercial here. We've got data, digging for data. We got more data center. I came back late last night from Altoona, Iowa, and I've got some video for you on the Altoona data center there. So stick around, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Why should you join the Livingston County Republican Party?
Why, you ask?
Yeah, why?
Why join?
The Republican Party is the party of common sense.
Common sense.
Republicans support the Constitution.
Republicans protect your rights.
We fight to keep your children safe.
We fight to keep boys and men out of girls' and women's sports.
We fight to keep boys out of girls' restrooms.
We fight for you.
What does the Republican Party do?
We help Republican candidates get elected.
Why is it important to elect Republicans?
Why is that important?
Why?
Tell me, why is that important?
Livingston County is one of the safest counties in Michigan.
Livingston County has one of the lowest crime rates in the state of Michigan.
Livingston County has the lowest tax millage rate of all 83 counties.
Republicans work to balance the budget.
Republican legislators vote against raising your taxes.
Republican elected officials believe in transparency.
Republican clerks run elections with integrity.
Republican trustees protect your rights.
Republicans support our veterans.
Who can join?
If you are conservative, we want you in our party.
All conservatives are welcome at our table.
Join our activities. Join the fun.
Become a member.
Join us now.
Hi, I'm Deb Drick, Chair of the Livingston County Republican Party. Our conservative message has been very well received in Livingston County, and I'm so happy to share with you that people are stepping up right and left to help. The only thing's missing is you. Come join our mission. Come join our fun. Go to livingstonrepublicans.com and click join. You'll be glad you did.
John Adams warned that the Constitution is wholly inadequate without a moral and religious people. As conservatives, we must reclaim the faith that shaped it, rooted in Jesus Christ and the Bible. To help you understand the historic Christianity that our country was founded on, check out theexaltedchrist.com, a resource website proclaiming Christ as King.
Keep it going. Welcome to the right side. And with me now is the brand new 7th District Chair, District 3, Livingston County Commissioner, Frank Sample. So welcome, Frank. You're very active in the American Legion.
Correct.
You're very active in the VFW.
This ideology is very damaging to the students who are told if you get this surgery and make do the social transition, the medical transition, then you'll be happy and all your problems
Yes,
will be solved. Learned so much.
I'll bet. That's some institutional knowledge right there.
And we have, as a special guest, as I said earlier, we have Kevin Rinke with us. Welcome, Kevin. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Go Vogue. Thanks, Kelly. There are those everywhere. We love meeting new people.
Right, yes.
It's in good shape, so that's good news.
That safeness is not afforded to every citizen. They are special.
There's a difference between men and women. There's a biological difference, and it's time for us to stand up for our girls.
He went through, and he came back with a report said there's no way Detroit can meet its obligations on the tax base.
Yes.
So is this DEI focused just on the high school, or are they talking about all
district, the entire district?
Maybe that's kind of normal. It's really not. There tends to be little fiefdoms with different police agencies and police versus fire and fire versus EMS and blah blah blah. That's not the case here. So Livingston County is very fortunate.
And we're back, except my whole screen is weird. Hold on. What did I do here? Oh, somebody let me touch the screen and now I don't know what I did. Hit escape for me. There we go. Now I found it. Okay, thanks. Thanks for a little bit of the technical interlude. So here we go. All right. Well, let's see. We got Brian Ignatowski. Thanks, Brian, for that. What a great podcast tonight. I agree. Scott does rock. Thanks. So let's talk about digging for the data. As you know, we've done a couple little second half of the podcast. We've focused on a little bit of what I'm learning about data centers. I was totally unsure of what was going on or what data centers were or weren't. And I know online there is so much fear being pushed and misinformation, and it's very, very frustrating. There's some stuff out there that I don't know even if anybody knows the truth of. So I'm trying to dig to what I can, and I can't answer everything, but I will say this. First of all, last week I was talking to the Currys on here, and I made a joke about, they'll probably buy your house if you don't like it there. It was a joke. It was tongue in cheek, and of course some some genius out there decided to make that as a absolute statement, like I was speaking for the company or something, which I wasn't, which I can't. So let's just get all the little clarifications out of the way, because I hate that it's sort of like, I don't like that you have to put directions on shampoo, but apparently for some people you do. So I was tongue-in-cheek, and I am not making any promises or any guarantees. However, having said that, that has happened. We have learned that. But again, I'm not making any promises on that kind of thing. I don't know if any company is going to buy someone's house if they don't like the data center. That was just a joke. So line up, people. Stop taking my stuff out of context. All right, so what I did find out, I went with Howell trustee Shane Fagan, and I flew to Altoona Sunday night, came back last night. We spent the entire day touring Altoona. Altoona is a community, not much, I mean, it has a little downtown, kind of like Howell does, and then it has like the outskirts, kind of like Genoa Township would be, except their Genoa Township is much more developed with a whole lot more business on it. But it's still, it's similar to Howell in that, where to Livingston County in that way. Their data centers are there. They aren't any prettier there than they were in Albany, and I still say, get a berm. These things are ugly. They're big, ugly warehouses. Behind a berm, you don't know. So in New Albany, they had a berm. This one, not so much. So like I said, if you guys do this, then definitely get a berm. But again, quiet, again, walking around the community. I tried uploading all the video. I've got some of it. I can try it again, and I'll have some more of it for you next week when I got some time to work on it. But we have a restaurant owner there that I've got a complete tape of that I'll bring next week. It just wouldn't upload for some reason. But he talked about how the data centers kept their businesses alive during COVID, because they ordered every day from the local restaurants because people weren't coming in. So that was kind of good to know. Everybody has the same statement that they're very involved in their community, that they give a lot of money to the community voluntarily, not necessarily, not the tax situation. In Altoona, they gave a big long tax abatement, but they get something called a pilot, which is called payment in lieu of taxes. So they get a payment per square foot of their center, and they've loved the center there. They've allowed them to expand because they've loved the center there. And so let me show you here. The first clip I'm going to do is of the Altoona mayor and business development, economic development guy. So let me just send that up.
Water. Altoona produces our own water from the Jordan Aquifer, and so that's an advantage to us because we control our water supply. The data center that's here in town just became our #1 water user when our last building went online. So they were, 4 million square feet, and they still weren't our #1 water user. And we always joke if they quit watering their lawns by their offices, they'd be maybe wouldn't be #1. And so water has not been a problem at all.
Okay.
The data center that we have is very cognizant of water usage and try very hard not to use a lot of water. So 0 problems. Wells,
Okay.
no, none of that.
All right.
None of that.
What about electrical use? Our residents are concerned that their energy costs are going to go up because of this, because of all the usage and all the needs of this particular data center. So have you seen that or heard of that?
We have not seen that, no. This data center, I think, is powered entirely by wind energy. They built a wind farm in eastern Iowa. So, yeah, we have not seen that at all.
Okay, all right.
Water or power. It's
Okay.
just normal increases that you get through time.
Have you run into any noise complaints or any other complaints from the residents that living local? And if so, how did the company address them right away? Were they responsive to any kind of complaints, if any?
Recently I was out there, and this site, part of it's about a mile from the interstate. You can't hear the property, you can only hear the interstate. And it's not, it's a busy interstate, but it's not like it's right next to the interstate where you're standing. You're a mile away, and the only thing you can hear is the road.
Oh, good. That was another question I was going to ask. Any smells or anything like that?
No. They do have generators that they will exercise from time to time.
Okay.
They do that you know, at times when it's appropriate. And they do it just in case of emergencies.
Okay.
So they do exercise those generators. There are a handful of residential properties around there. I think a couple of those, if you were to go interview them, they would tell you they're great neighbors because it's not a lot of traffic, it's not a lot of noise. They really enjoy them as being neighbors.
Okay, what about lights? What about lighting? Is there lights that, you know, in the beautiful farmland there or whatever that?
Well, not any more than if you're gonna develop the area. I mean, it's I would say it's less lighting across the street than the warehouse would be with a parking lot.
Right.
Because you don't have parking lots right up against, they have berms.
Okay.
Prairie grass, and so I would say building other things like commercial and warehouses where you have parking lots where the lights are on all night, that would be worse than a data center.
Okay.
And as far as complaints as an elected official, no, even when we were building it, we didn't have a lot of pushback, but that was a long time ago.
Sure.
Data centers have kind of become ubiquitous now. But no, I don't have any complaints from citizens at all.
And they're from the economic development or community development side of things. How do they interact with the community? I mean, was it just at first and now they're sort of out on their own, or do they continue to interact? Are they community partners?
They continue to interact, and part of the reason is because it's continually under construction. As technology changes, they continue to make upgrades on site. They're extremely easy to work with from the city development side. The building department has no issues with these guys. Community development folks have no issues with these guys. They do exactly what they say they're gonna do, and they do it the right way. I mean, they're building a first-class facility.
Yeah.
They're trying to cut corners out there at all.
Now, in their interaction with the community, every year they have their community grants program, and then they bring up all those that had gotten the grant. They come and do an awards where I come and speak, and they do a little
big ceremony
about the money that they've given away, and they give to all the schools, they give to the libraries, anything that's technology driven, STEM, like we spoke about earlier. They're really willing to help out, and also infrastructure. So they've been great partners all the way around. Nothing bad to say.
Okay.
In fact, very supportive. If you have a chance to get one of these, I would take it.
You have any questions?
I'm
here with Shane Fagan. Hello.
How many data centers do you have in the city of Altoona total?
Well, they'll tell you there's 12 on site, and that's kind of just the way they separate them. We do have another property that's a data center though. That's separate from this, separate ownership, different.
Okay.
Yeah, they're smaller, but yeah. So we've had, and that data center's been in town since the early 2000s.
Yeah, so we're not.
So, and this one's been around, these ones here have been around. I am also hearing now, or at least I met with some of the data center developers, and they were showing plans for the other states that they're growing in, and the buildings are getting smaller as they go because they're able to shrink the
They get more efficient.
Yes,
The
yes.
other thing too, I guess I should mention, is we have 2 other properties that are owned and zoned for data centers.
Okay.
They're already owned by development companies.
Okay.
So we're not afraid of data centers.
Okay.
We like
Anymore.
Yeah, we'll take them. As long
Okay.
as long as we could get the power from Mid-American Energy.
Sure.
That's our big, that's what holds us back right now for any other data centers. And the original one in town is actually looking to expand as well.
Okay.
And we're all for it. We have 0 problems with them.
Okay.
One other question I would like to hit on. I think one of our constituents' biggest concerns is their own property values.
Oh,
Have
yes.
you seen any kind of evidence that it's decreasing property values, making land unsellable or undesired for new residents?
It probably depends on how you want to zone the property around it. Directly around it, if you have a similar use, it's going to increase the property values for those property owners. People seem to want to be by these things because they do drive infrastructure. They will have to install some infrastructure. My guess is they will, not knowing how your community is laid out.
No, there's infrastructure needed,
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, that will drive additional development. And these guys are great job producers. They've got 400 to 500 permanent on-site employees. They've had 1,300, I think, maximum at a time, construction workers on site. That drives a lot of additional uses in your restaurants and your retail shops and
hotels
people
and
that move to town, but it's mainly people that will stay in hotels during the week, during construction, and then they may go home. But there are permanent people that have worked and lived here. There's some people that have worked out there since day one.
Yeah,
that live here in town.
So yeah, that's from that one. That one kind of goes on and on. So I don't want to put them. I'm going to post them so anybody can look at the whole thing. But it is basically the city said we'll take them. We'll take as many as want to come here because it's been a great addition. As profitable as it would be, they talked about warehouses and a major manufacturer now wanting to come because the data centers are local and they want to all be kind of near. That's not possible in Howell Township, or at least can't be on that same property. There's just no other place for them to go. But the nice thing is just down the street, you have Burkhart Road with all those warehouses, and you have Grand River and 59 that are zoned for industrial. So anybody that wants to bring in a warehouse or an industrial place you've already got the spots there in Howell Township. So that's not a big deal. Let me talk to the next one here is the Chamber of Commerce. We just popped in on these people. Hi, can we help you? And we walked in on her and she was having a meeting. So we had to go away and have lunch and come back. So let me bring her up. Okay, I'm here in the Altoona Chamber of Commerce. So can you introduce yourself and tell us your title?
Yes, I am Melissa Horton. I'm the Executive Vice President of the Altoona Chamber of Commerce.
Wonderful. So you have a big data center. We don't mention the name on tape.
Yes.
So you have a big data center here. And what is your experience with data centers? Have you been here longer than they have been, or did you come in after them?
I actually was born and raised in Altoona. My parents graduated from Altoona High School. So I'm well rooted in this community. I've been here a long time. I've been in this position for 15 and a half years. Prior to that, I worked for the local newspaper.
Okay.
So I've been here a long time.
All right.
Entire.
So you were here when they came to town?
Yes.
Was there fear when they first came to town or decided to come to town?
Not at all. So I find this kind of interesting. But no, there wasn't any fear. In fact, we were excited about it, about them coming to the community because, at the time, now this was 15 years ago, 10 years ago, I guess, 11 years ago that they were coming, and that particular data center was just seeing some explosion in popularity.
Okay.
And so we knew that there was going to be, some success with that company.
Okay. And so let's just kind of go through the problems. We have residents that are, naturally afraid. We don't have anything like that near us. So have you heard of or have you noticed, and being here as long as you have, this is great because you can give us a before and after snapshot. Have you noticed any kind of electrical issues where either you're overloaded because they're here or electrical price of energy is skyrocketed because they're here, or?
No, I don't think that our utilities have gone up in any way different than a normal, cost of living increase for utilities. I mean, I think it's normal for the community. So yeah, no, I've not seen any of that.
Have you heard of any wells drying up, having problem, any kind of water issues?
Altoona is its own water source. We do not get water from Des Moines Public.
No, but you have you're an aquifer.
Yep. And no, we've not heard of any of that.
Okay, all right. How about noise? Have you heard of anybody complaining about noise? Or
the only time there's noise is actually when they're in construction.
Okay.
And, we have 12 buildings here.
Okay.
So they've been in construction for a long time.
Okay, well.
So in that part of the area, they're kind of in our far northwestern gateway of our community. So it's kind of outside of the city limits and our kind of residential tourism area.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like it used to be farmland and they turned it into it. We went to visit a farmer right across the street. I mean, he still was farming out there, and he said he was terrified when they first came in, but he said that he said he was, yes, that's exactly what he said. Yeah. And he said that they're preferable to
Is that
apartments or whatever.
Griffians by any chance?
I
Griffs.
can't recall. There's
Wa-
one
was
of 3 houses
west-
on a dead end road.
It's west, just. Okay, well, you got the idea. She said the same thing that the mayor said, lots of money coming into the community, the schools, everything else. But I just mentioned here the farmer that we went visit, and if you go to the west side of the west side of the complex, it is complex there, farmland there. So I mean, on one side of the street is the major complex, on the other side is the great big farm. So we went knocking at the door, and fortunately caught the farmer and his wife as they were just kind of coming out to leave. So we talked to them. So I'm going to play that for you. We're recording. We're across the street. You can see the data center here, and we're across the street talking to the gentleman that lives across the street. So just, can you tell us, on behalf of the residents that may be living nearby, what is it? Uh-oh, let me try that again. Well, I don't know what's going on there. Let me try buffering it a second here. Let me go back and start again, see if that makes a difference. Hold on. Wait a minute. Maybe I got too many up. Now this guy we definitely want to hear from. Let's try again. It's buffering. All right, let me try and reload it. Let's see here. Video file. Neighbor. Okay, let's try it again. We're recording. We're across the street. You can see the data center here, and we're across the street talking to the gentleman that lives across the street. So just, can you tell us, on behalf of the residents that may be living nearby, what is it like living next to a data center?
It's no disruption at all for us. Initially, when the construction was going on for a few years, maybe a little bit, very little. It's at night they have all down lighting on it, so that's not intrusive. It's not noisy at all, and I'd much rather have that there than a bunch of apartment houses or houses and dogs and that kind of thing across the street, because the traffic is not great. So added security. Yeah, you count that as added security.
Added security?
Yeah, they have I call them rent-a-cops that drive down this road. It's a dead-end road.
Okay.
And they drive down this road probably every hour, all day and all night. So we don't worry too much about anybody else on causing problems. But yeah,
No noise, no smell. Have you had any issues with electrical surges or problems or water issues or anything?
Not at all.
Not at all?
Power increase or the rate of your electricity?
Yeah.
Hasn't increased the rate of our electricity, the rate of our water.
Okay.
You're on a municipal water supply here?
We're not now. Altoona city limits is in the middle of this road.
Okay.
We're in the county. That's the city.
Okay.
So you're on your own private well?
No.
Okay.
We're on a rural water system. So we're on a different water system than they are. They're on the city water system with Altoona.
Okay.
Yeah, we have no complaints really.
Other than maybe looking at it.
It's not even that obtrusive. We live on a farm here, and I tell my wife, you don't like it, go outside on the deck, look the other
What? How much property? You have corn? No, you have just field over here. How much property do you have farmland?
We have 200 acres right here.
Okay. Okay. Wow. And it's not affected your crops and no pollution or anything like that. We're listening to the residents there, and they have concerns. We don't have anything like that. And this one's going to be, this one's supposed to be settled in the middle of about 1,000 acres with, 300-400 feet setbacks from everything with berm. So
when this first was approved, yeah, we were kind of concerned about it too.
Sure.
And in fact, my neighbor and I used to farm that land over there, and that's just excellent farm ground.
Okay.
But, I said, throw corn out on the ground and grow 200 bushels. It really was. When they were excavating over there, we'd watch the excavators until you couldn't see the roof anymore, and they were still pulling out black dirt.
Okay, wow.
So from that perspective, as a farmer, it's kind of heartbreaking to watch that. But no, it was.
So you'd have no problems recommending that, or saying that,
I'm not going to if I'd recommend it, but I have no problems with that one.
Okay.
That's there. I wouldn't be afraid to have another one over there.
Okay. And you, if you were to do it all again, would you still have? I mean, like if they went away and then wanted to come back again, would you protest or would you be okay with it, knowing what you know now?
I don't know. That depends on what they're going to do with it when they leave.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
Could you speak to the value of your property at all?
Well.
Have you lost value or?
As a whole, in this county, pretty much, not just right here. See, we're in a kind of a triangle between several developing cities and Des Moines, and property values in the last 15 years have gone sky high.
Okay, well, that's good to know. We have residents that are afraid they're going to lose property value, if a data center moves in nearby, but I've not seen that yet.
Maybe if we wanted to sell this land for housing development, residential, it might hurt a little bit. But we have people every year coming offers to make us big offers on this place.
Oh, wow.
They want to make industrial parks and commercial stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Heritage Farm has been in our family for 160 years. So
Okay, yeah, you're not going anywhere. All right.
Yeah, they don't make land anymore, do they?
No.
My dad always said they don't make it anymore.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you so much. Okay, as you can see, he lives, and you saw that thing, right across the street. I loved his comment. I said, ooh. I said, except looking at it. And he said, well, I tell my wife, you don't like the view, go sit in the back patio. She was a sweetheart too, but they were very clear that, they have people offering them money all the time good money to buy their farm, and they're not selling, they're not going anywhere. They're perfectly happy living there. So, the idea that you're losing value doesn't seem to be there either. So I do have further digging to do on that. I want to get some actual, it's one thing for a farmer to say he's offered great money all the time to sell, but I'd like to get some before and after kind of what did that house sell for before the data center moved in, and what did it sell for after the data center moved in? That to me is going to be, that kind of data is what is going to cement it. So I will say this, I still have some thoughts and I still have some concerns I want to look into, but I can't say with any certainty that property is going to go up or down. So I'm still digging into that. I will say this, noise is a big nothing burger. I have now been at around 80 some of these things, and no, there's no noise. I suspect if they've got to turn a generator on because of an emergency or on a really hot day, they need an extra generator, maybe it'll go. But we went out there, Shane and I, and again, that's video I'll have to give you next week. But Shane and I both downloaded a different decibel app, decibel meter, and we both ran it, and we picked up in the 40s, and that was because of the road that was over there. When we talked, it would jump up to the 50s and maybe even in the 60s, but then it would go right back down in the 40s, and that was from the cars going by. You could see it going up and down because of the cars, but there was absolutely nothing to hear, and we were right by the data center, and we were there by a giant power plant. Nothing. Not a thing, not a crackle, not a hum, not anything. No smell, no sound. I've said it 25 times. I'm going to keep saying it. They're ugly buildings. They're ugly gray. Or at least this one was ugly gray. So it was but it's also, they didn't have a setback there like the one proposing in Howell Township. Speaking of Howell Township, I'm going to do a screen share because the data center just put out a website. Did you know that? So let's do a screen share with Howell Data Center project. Here we go. Okay, about the project. All right. So here we go. About the Howell Data Center project. You see, it says of the future, the shared future together, the plan. This is for illustration purposes and discussion only. It's not a construction, but you can see this is kind of about how they're thinking about doing it from back here. Now, picture a berm right in there, a berm up there. You're not going to see that thing. So this is what I find interesting here. This is the proposed thing. You see how they got the road that goes through it, and then they've got the 400-foot building setback. That is not some. That's 400 feet. That's a football. That's 1 1/3 football fields. So that's not something that's going to be right up against the road. That's good news. What I really like here is, you see these here? These are equestrian and walking trails right in here. That's awesome. That's a nice park for in there. And then they have, they're going to be giving a dedication to the public, to a public entity, a nonprofit or a public entity for use. This is many acres in here. I don't remember the number, but I thought I heard 100 acres, but I don't quote me out there. Whoever's watching this nonsense, stop taking things out of context. But it's supposed to be a big amount of acres that they're giving. But again, 400-foot building setback, 400-foot building setback, 400-foot building setback. Here's another one. This is kind of how it is. All this is green space. So, and this is parking lot. So, I mean, there's a lot of green space here. Their proposal is about 50% left green space here. Here's the letter from the Van Gilders. We've all seen that one. So this company supports schools, fire, police, and EMS. Reduces the revenue, reduces the need for future tax increases. That was told to us in New Albany, that the schools stayed off the ballot because of the extra money that's come in. Data centers rely on cutting edge internet and power, so that helps the economy. Everybody agrees on this one. The local economy boost, where more jobs, more business. The people at the city told us that the jobs were good paying jobs. They said they paid very well, so that's good news. Let's see what else here. Okay, so then we have here, there was a statement that said, not on board. Right on. Let's see what it says if you're not on board. There we go. What if we don't? Okay. If the company, we might be turning away more than a single development. That's true. So I encourage you guys to look through this site. You can see that this is, they have the FAQ, they have the site plan, water questions, light questions. There's the FAQ, tax questions, traffic questions. So all these, this is a good one. So it's howelldatacenter.com. And, I encourage you to go to that center. What happened? I think we're back again. Yes. So I encourage you to go howelldatacenter.com and check that out. Nothing is on our screens. Jay, did you see that? Somebody tell me if they just did it. Did you just see the site that I showed you? Please type Bob, Jay, somebody. Did you just see what I did? Can you guys see this? So, all right, I'll stop sharing. Let me go back to my StreamYard. Did you see it? You did not see it? Can you see it?
I see the interviews you did with the farmer in the city there, but
You can't see the.
website
Why
link
is this
to it.
not working? Hold on, one more time. Let me try this. Share the screen. Can you see it yet? Nothing? Well, what's going on here? I need a data center to fix this.
It says you're sharing. So
It says I'm sharing. Okay, how about there? There we go. I don't know why that works now, but it does. Problem is I can't scroll on this one. Hang on. Let's see. Is it scrolling on here or is it just staying still? Is it scrolling or is it staying still?
it's scrolling. You just have a delay.
Okay, so all right, so you can see it. All right, so here it is right here, the site plan, and you can see there's questions on general questions, energy, noise, light, water, property value, tax. Okay, the site plan. Yeah, so there's going to be a landscape berm will be created. That's the best news I've heard so far. Anyway, this is for you to all right, I'm going to stop sharing. So this is for you to poke around on, and it's holiday. Okay, good. Thanks, Bob, for saying yes 3 times. That's good. Now I know. So it is, that's good. So now the howldatacenter.com, everybody should go there. You should poke around. You should read all the stuff. That's good information. So far what I'm hearing, I'm not at all concerned about sound. I think anybody out there that thinks this is going to be noisy, just check that off your list. I'm not saying that, I'm not saying we've got all the answers yet, but the one answer we do have is sound. Every one of these things has just been quiet as quiet can be. I have not heard yet where electrical's an issue. I know DTE was very, very clear, and I'm going to try and get DTE on the podcast so they can answer questions. But they were very clear that they put in massive power to the organization, more than they need, so then the locals can also rely on any excess. So that's good news. What else? So there's water, according to MHUG and according to our drain commissioner, that's not an issue either. We have more than enough. They don't have to do the closed loop. Now, I was told the closed loop is the noisier one. It isn't that noisy, but it's closed loop. They're claiming they're going to be under 55 decibels. Your township ordinance is 70. That is no different than cars on Grand River. So that's good news. I don't think noise, electrical, or water. I have to find out about property values. I'm not hearing any issues with the bigger organizations. And when I say data centers, all data centers are not alike. Okay, I can't speak that all of them are perfect or all of them, answer problems. What I'm hearing is this company, they answer the bell if there's an issue, they handle it right away. If there's, they're good, they're really involved in their community and they're very supportive. Now, some of the smaller data centers, maybe some of them aren't so responsive or they don't have the resources to give to the community or whatnot. I don't know. I mean, they could all be perfect like this, but I've heard the stories of the bad actors out there, and I've dug into it. It is not this company that is thinking about coming here. So that's good news that this company is very, very concerned about its community relationship and its community dealing. So that is something that that to me is good news. So that's what I have for today. I like I said, I am finding overall that people that don't live near a data center are afraid of one. And Bob, that might be true. I think a lot of people might feel that way. I think that people that don't have a data center in their town are worried, which they should be, and they should investigate. I don't like the mob fear that's running around, and I don't like all the, I think people have grabbed onto this and now are just at, win at any cost. And it's not about winning or losing. It's about digging in and finding out, could this be good for the community or is it not? So property values need to be investigated. I still need to do that. And if it's not, I know that the businesses nearby, and next week I will have those ready for you, but the businesses nearby are say that they all support the businesses. So there's the hotels, the restaurants, the gas stations, the little stores, the party stores, and then people move into your community with good paying jobs. So that's a good thing too. So anyway, so that's what I'm hearing so far. Feel free to reach out to Shane on the township and ask him his thoughts. I think he'll echo what we both dug in as deep as we could. And I do have some other video that just would not upload. So I'm going to try and post all of them on the site. So on the YouTube site, so we can have it and anybody can watch it at any time. You can watch the full thing, but everything on there has been, there was another video we took of the building inspector who said that everything there is built first rate, that their standards were here and the company standards were higher. And when they built it and they did everything right, and when everything was inspected, they never had any issues. Everything was, they built to keep it there for a long time. And so they take care of their stuff, and any issues whatsoever are resolved right away. So that's better than I think a lot of companies here could say. So still some things to check out, but so far I can check off water, check off electricity, check off sound, and I can check off community involvement or whatever else. I think that they're going to play by the rules here, or at least I now have to see how they deal with property values around the community. So that I'm going to have that hopefully by next week. So check out that howldatacenter.com and spelunk through it, find out, see what you find. But I gotta tell you that I think it's pretty disgusting watching all the attacks out there. So you can't have a discussion with just one side. You gotta have both sides talking. And the lowest form of this is the absolute truth. The lowest form of disagreement is the insult. Once you get into the insult, where I mean you're attacking everything, not because you call someone stupid. I broke down and called somebody a chowderhead and then apologized. I shouldn't have done that. But I was frustrated and that was it. But if you're going to attack every single thing that comes at you, every single difference of opinion, every single situation, what you're saying to everybody is, I have nothing. I've got no substance. Therefore, I'm going to insult. So just heads up on that. That's what people think when they see it. And you stop all engagement right there when you start attacking people that think differently than you. I will tell you that I'm easy to find, and you want to have a conversation with me. You agree with me or you don't agree with me. I'm good. I'm absolutely good with that. You can continue to agree or you can continue to disagree. Either way, we'll have a discussion. As soon as you insult me, game over. I have no interest in I have no respect for you anymore. At that moment, I've lost everything. Whatever, if I thought, well, okay, this person might have some questions and let's talk. As soon as I start getting called a liar or whatever, no, that's it. Goodbye. I have no time for that nonsense. If you wanna toot that horn, and the people that cry doom and gloom and that's all that comes out of their mouth, again, you got to understand people are disengaging from that. So just some heads up, have some, all you people out there that absolutely are, come hell or high water, you're against this, go have an honest conversation. Take that out of your head and just go listen to some people. Just listen to what they think without attacking. If you want to disagree, then disagree, but just agree respectfully. Don't attack them. I don't think the people that you want to listen to you are going to care what you think if that's your response. Just what I'm saying. So have a good look, have a good listen, go through that data plan. You can reach me if you want to have a calm and respectful conversation. Even if you disagree, I'm easy to reach. Other than, you can find me on Facebook, message me. I answer everything. So, until you start insulting me, and then that's it. I dismiss you immediately. So anyway, thanks to Scott Greenlee for coming and giving us that political education tonight. Thanks to, and of always, I cannot thank Tyler Hammock enough, who is over here in the corner monitoring. He's the one that types stuff in when I need it in. And when I say things like, why isn't that working? He tells me what I need to do to fix it. So he's just a big help here, and I could not do this without him. So good night, everybody. We'll see you next. Oh, wait. I am unsure at this point if we're going to do anything next week, because it's election day, and I think a lot of people will be voting. So watch for a flyer. I will put out a flyer, either that there is one or there isn't one. Let me see how that goes. So it may be that it's 2 weeks. So we'll talk soon either way. Reach out to me if you have questions or thoughts. Thanks. Good night.